You own a pencil factory, I'm a worker in that pencil factory. You can have all the machinery, you can buy all the raw materials you want, but without me, and presumably many others like me, to assemble the pencils, all you would have is a pile of wood, yellow paint, graphite, rubber, and aluminum.
Okay.
That would be worth, and that is worth less than the pencil when you try and sell it. And yet, all of that value added by labor, apart from the wages that you give me, which, if we're being honest, there is a major power imbalance in our ability to negotiate that.
If all that putting the pencil together requires is basic use of your prefrontal cortex, then yes, your labor is alienable at lower rates than if you are a doctor. That's not the fault of the person who owns the machinery.
But if you didn't have workers like me and your pencil factory, and you were just one man.
But I have millions of people who are willing to do that voluntarily for me.
The differentiation I draw, and I'm not alone in this, I'm not one person trying to redefine anything. The differentiation I and many others like me draw between socialism and capitalism is that under capitalism, when you, as the owner of the factory, you give me a wage. The wage could be $7.25, it could be $15, it could be whatever an hour. Right? But you give me a wage. All the additional profit above made from selling the pencils or whatever good you produce above what is reinvested into the company ultimately goes to you or the investors, those who own shares in the means of production.
Right.
Under socialism, those people are the workers, and the example I give, again, is cooperative enterprise.
No, those are the people who are investing the risk. So if they carry the risk, then they get the benefit. The owner of the factory carries the risk, therefore he gets the benefit. The workers in the company you mentioned, if that company were to go bankrupt, they would carry the risk as well as the benefit. If the company goes bankrupt, and this guy has to pay off all of his debts, the worker may lose his job, but he's not the one who's going to incur the debt of having gone bankrupt. If you incur risk, then you're the one who pays the downside. The worker does not pay the downside. Okay, it is the investor who pays the downside, who invested in all the machinery, who sunk millions of dollars into making your labor productive. Because guess what? Your labor is without that machinery. Gunk. Nothing. You don't have a pencil to put together. You don't got the wood. You don't got the paint. You don't got the rubber. You don't got the metal. You got nothing. Right? You're sitting there, standing outside, twiddling your thumbs. It required somebody to invest. Who do you think put more in? The guy who spent millions of dollars buying all the machinery, leasing the place, making sure there was a management structure, doing the LLC formation, making sure all the tax code was in compliance, or you standing outside because you can stick a piece of graphite into a piece of wood? Now we're done.
Okay, y'all, I gotta admit, Ben Shapiro can be a little annoying sometimes, but I gotta tell you, it was glorious watching him demolish that little socialist. And what these people don't understand, particularly these young rich kid quote unquote socialists that we find at elite universities and institutions all the time, is what Ben Shapiro spent probably about 5 minutes, and probably even more than that clip, trying to explain to that person, which is, if it was not for the capital that people that own companies, corporations, etc., if it was not for the capital that they put in, there would be no place for the workers to work. I don't understand why this is such a hard concept for these people to understand. I think that they have this sort of bottom-up mentality where they think that because I'm a worker and I'm working at McDonald's, then McDonald's can't survive without me. No, look, McDonald's can't survive without the building. McDonald's can't survive without the ground beef. McDonald's can't survive without a lot of different things. But if you, as the worker, decide that you don't want to work at McDonald's because they're not going to pay you the $25 that you think you're owed, and by the way, this is the argument that they're making right now for the minimum wage. They want $25 now because in some socialist cities like New York, they're getting about $15 an hour. So you have the decision as the worker to not do that. But you know what? There's somebody else that is going to walk in there and that is gladly going to take that job, right? So the problem with these little socialists is that they are people who have never built anything, and they are people that have never created anything. So if you've never built anything and you've never created anything, you walk into these situations with this sense of entitlement, and you think that whatever it is that you're doing, that your labor, that your work, or whatever, is what makes things go round. And that may be partially true, but if there's not a building to go to, if there's not machinery for the factory, if there is not some capitalist, by the way, who invested millions and millions and millions of dollars of either their own money or did the work to find the other capital to put it in, there is literally no place for you to work, worker. I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand, but I am very glad that Ben Shapiro set this guy straight.